We are back and we are in the studio, finally in the studio. Riverside changed a few things the last time I used it mobily, but it looks even better now on the app with the studio, the way it's going. But as you can see, I got a few new knickknacks up there we'll talk about. But today's guest is Trey Black. We've been like back and forth a little bit on getting a show up, and Trey hit me up because of when we was at the last week at Autoglass University. I participated in Handgun Wednesday. Uh, and oh my goodness, it'd been since like the end of 2003 since I've shot urethane out of a manual caulking gun. Now, I did use it for silicone, like Troy and I was talking about in the green room. I used it for on silicone, used it on a couple other things, but it's not quite the same as urethane. So, Troy, what do you find the hardest about the handgun?
If you call me Troy again, me and you gonna fight.
Jesus. Trey, 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 Trey,
That's all right,
Trey,
man. It's
Trey,
easy. It's easy to mix up. It's
Trey,
easy to mix up.
Trey. It
So
is easy to mix up, but I'm telling you what, you kind of okay. So there's a auto body shop up here that I serviced when I was at Richardson, and he was into Harleys, and he had the glasses and the shaved head like me and everything, and his name was Troy, and his name was Troy Blackburn. So,
man, that's really close.
so I do apologize. By every time that I see you, I think, Troy, you are Trey Black. And Trey Black and I have been going back and forth. So Trey, I will try not to screw your name up again, but my goodness, you look so much like you guys, I get it, Ohio, South Carolina, whatever, but you're like 16 feet tall and he's like 5 foot tall, but was sitting down. But okay, my apologies. Trey, what do you find the hardest about using the hand cocking gun?
Uh, keeping the beads smooth. That's the hardest part. So, and I'll tell you why I got into it. Playing around is so my brother is actually a technician for me, and let's see, he's on his second time working for us. He got in a little trouble and he had to take a hiatus, but he was having a whole, I'm sure you see in Autoglass University, one of the hardest things you teach guys how to do is run urethane.
Yes.
It is I don't know why, but it is one of the most difficult things that we have to learn to do when we come into this industry. Um, and he was struggling so hard trying to run urethane. And at the time we were using XV30. And I said, I tell you, well, he'd been doing it, I don't know, 30, 60 days, something like that. And I said, I tell you what, I'm going to start handgunning every bead, and I'm going to make those beads look better than your beads until you figure out how to get it done. And I saw it as an opportunity to kind of build some forearm strength and just, build some catfish bellies. Because I always thought my forearms lacked. It was like once I'd look down at my arms and I'd be like, man, I got these puny little forearms. And so through the summer, I handgun for, through the summer and the spring and a little bit into the fall. And then I realized I was losing dexterity in my hands. And so I backed off from it. But I did it, probably 9 months, I guess, straight through on every job I did. And I don't know. So it kind of became fun and trolling after that. And then now, it seemed like a good opportunity for content online, just to try to keep the channel moving on because sometimes, we get Sean comes in here to shoot videos and I'm standing here and I've got nothing to shoot a video on. It's like, I don't even know what to talk about today,
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
just for fun.
Well, it was like I said, when I first got into it in '03. Luckily it was 6 months in, I got a power caulking gun, because before that, it was you know, the actual and it wasn't the nice bulk caulking gun that, I used at the university. I don't know, do you use just a normal cartridge gun? Like, most of the time I see you, is it a 27-1? Is it
So
32-1?
I think that one's like a 28-1, the one that
Okay,
I've been using recently.
okay.
Now I did have a red barrel one like that you had in the video. Um, at one time I think was a 32-1. But it's just an Amazon, just a higher ratio, one of the higher ones you can find on Amazon, 28-32, something like that. But
Yeah.
it sucks no matter what. It doesn't matter
It
how
does,
good
it
of a
does, it
ratio
does.
you got.
So for me, like, okay, that little bit you let off and then you squeeze again and it gives it that little burst. That yeah, and it's like you know, for us, like you said, running the urethane is like the hardest part. In my opinion, it's one of the hardest parts of the job. You can mess a lot of things up as long as you prep correctly and your bead height is good, you know, your bead's good, your bead height is good, and your set is good. You can mess up the rest of the job and it'll be a safe install. I mean, it's just in my opinion, that's the way it is. But like that little oh my goodness, Trey. It was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, this is it was so hard, and, like, when you start to sweat, you get a little bit of that, you know, a little bit of that high
Yeah.
speed wobble, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, yeah, and you're right, as soon as I got done, it was like I just rode a whole moto, and I, like, had arm pump, and I couldn't open my hands kinda thing, you
Yeah.
know? Like, you'd
You
ride so
felt this
long that
big
you
around?
yeah, you'd ride so long that you can't even grip a can of pop because it'd fall out because you know, and it kinda felt the same way. But my bead on the body. Now, it wasn't on the glass like I usually normally run the urethane.
Mhm.
It was on the body. No excuse. It was still terrible. And I was glad we were peeling the tape up to redo it, you know, because what we did was we set up two vehicles. We pulled the windshields out of them and then we trimmed them down. And then we put tape on, and each person ran their urethane be practicing, 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 and every time they pulled the tape, put new tape down. That way they could just get the feel of how fast the gun needed to be, how smooth, you know. Because at first we'll have them shooting on the glass, and then we had them shooting on the wall with cardboard, and it's really just to gain the speed, to judge the speed that you need to move your body,
Oh, yeah.
because not everybody moves. And you know, Bradley had a great analogy. Do you want to be the old school He-Man? Like, action figure that doesn't is, like, real stiff and doesn't move, or do you wanna be the G.I. Joe that has all, you know, all the functioning,
Just float.
yes, just float and all of your joints work, and it's a consistent, you know, you move with the urethane, and, so that's what we did was we had that, and Brad was like, "I told Trey, you're gonna do handgun Wednesday," and I was like, "Alright, I guess
I
this
guess
is
here
what's
we go.
going on." Yeah, there was like I said, it's telling you it's Mach 60 XV, which isn't it isn't very stiff, it's not like shooting Ultimate, it's not like shooting Ace, but, boy, it felt like it. I'm not gonna lie, it only did half the window. I didn't even do the rest of the half, I just did the half of the window, and, yeah, it was pretty
On the
bad.
body is the hardest, in my
Yes.
opinion. On the
Yes.
body is the hardest to run the caulking gun because you can't reach it. You're reaching out real far. You got your hand in a weird angle and you're trying to squeeze. On the car is definitely the hardest.
And it's definitely the hardest with a power caulking gun as well. If you're running the urethane, applying the urethane, not running, if you're applying the urethane the way you're supposed to apply it at the 90-degree angle, instead of, you know, running it where you're laid back, you know, reaching across there and laying back and not keeping it at the 90, it's a little easier, but it's still hard. You know, like
Oh, yeah.
I think applying the bead on the body is super hard. I always have thought that. And like I said, I'm short with little arms, so for me, you know,
Yeah.
it's
You're
like T-Rex in it,
reaching.
dude. Like you know, I can't even reach
Yeah.
across there. It's like, oh my goodness. So anyways, but yeah, the that's super hard. I feel I get it gives you the roadmap and you know exactly where you're going. I understand that. And I understand that argument. Applying the urethane bead on the body, most technicians find it superior because as long as they don't set the glass on the molding, if there's a molding there, or they don't miss the set and have a bunch of ooze if it's naked edge, tend to have less problems than somebody like me who does apply on the glass. I'm not going to say that I don't have to make templates because I do when I can't judge how far off of the bottom it is. I
Mhm.
have to have
Yeah.
my old glass sitting there so I can mimic it in my brain when I'm running my primer bead or when I'm actually applying the urethane to the glass. But for me, it makes a cleaner job. So for me, that's why I do it. But I understand the philosophy behind applying it to the body, and that's way that I teach people when they start is on the body because you know exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But
It's hard
motherfucker,
to
it's hard.
teach guys. It's hard to teach guys how to see, and this is what I've noticed. To me, it never really seemed that hard for me to catch on to, but what I've noticed training guys, it's super hard for them to wrap their head around where the bead should be placed relative on the body or on the glass. So, like, you know, when you're running on your body, you want the bead to be slightly closer to the inside of where your mark is, you know,
Yes, sir.
because you can land halfway on or halfway off and it's still going to bond just fine.
Mhm.
But And then, like, say, for example, if you've got your gun leaned back towards you and you're running on the body, the V will be not directly 90 degrees away from the body. So it's really easy to set a windshield in and then it not make contact with the top of the V. And so training guys, be like, hey, come back with a paddle or something and roll that bead in a little bit so that you're going to hit. You're going to be
Mhm.
safe everywhere. It's super hard to teach guys that, and then vice versa on the windshield. When you get them to start running, say you get them to start running on the glass, they put that same thought into running on the body, and in turn they're paddling their bead backwards, or they're rolling their bead backwards, and it's like, well, that's even worse.
Yes,
It's
it's
like,
even worse because it's gonna hit, compress, and ooze out. So,
oh yeah,
uh,
oh yeah,
and if you're using a setting tool or a two-person set, you know, setting it on the when you have it on the glass and setting it into the hole, uh, you can actually kind of watch and see where it's going to hit the old urethane bead as long as you're paying
hmm
attention. If you're setting it by yourself, it's really hard. It is really hard
you
to
just
see
got to
where
have
that
some trust.
you have to have some trust in what you're doing. But if you're using a setting tool or a second person, you could actually watch where that urethane is going to come in contact with the
Oh yeah,
urethane that's on the body.
you can see it.
Now, when you run the body, you have a little bit more leeway, whether it be by yourself or with another person or with a setting tool, because you just have to hit glass and the glass is all there. You know what I mean? So as long as you're
Yeah, it's
hitting
all
glass,
glass.
it's all glass. You know what I mean? So as long as you
Yeah,
prep correctly and you hit, it's so I understand the philosophy behind it, and I understand and support the running or shooting the body first. But it is super hard to get them to understand that, urethane's viscous, and it's not gonna move the way you think it's gonna move, and it's not gonna ooze all out and everywhere, and it's not gonna you definitely don't want that stuff to roll, because if it rolls and you don't deck it correctly, like,
oh
there's
yeah.
all
Don't
kinds of
stick a
bad
molding
things.
in it first. Because
Oh,
it might
yeah.
not leak for 5 or 6 days, but it's gonna start leaking the
It's
first time
goes
they go through a hard car wash.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you set it on the molding, yeah, so, because you'll see on the post and stuff like that, like, "Oh, you shoot the glass, you're a moron. If you shoot the body,
Oh my
you're a
god.
moron." So it doesn't
I
really
see that
matter.
so much.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, it doesn't really matter as long as your job's clean. For me, I've told the story before, it was to basically clean up an issue I had that I know now was poor prep, but then as soon as I started running the glass, my problems went away. So for me, it made sense. I'm gonna just do it on the glass. Also, it leads for me, it leads for a better job when I go if I follow myself. I want it Trey, if you was to follow one of my jobs, I want you to, other than the aftermarket windshield, I want you to second guess A, if a robot ran that bead, and B, it had it been done before.
Well, yeah.
That
That's
that's
how I
that's
treat it.
yeah.
That's exactly how I treat it. I
Yep.
always tell my guys, when somebody comes behind you and they cut your windshield out, I want them to either wanna hire you or quit. No in between. Either this
Yeah.
guy's so much better than me, I need to hang it up, or I
Yep.
need to hire this guy. That's the
Yeah.
2 that's the only 2 thoughts that should be running through that next guy's head.
Absolutely, 100%. Like, yeah, so if Trey was to follow me or I was to follow Trey, it'd be like, okay, well, you know, and honestly, whether I did the job or not, um, for me, if it's a super clean job, that makes my job so much easier.
Oh, so much better.
I follow somebody who's
So much better.
actually doing the job, like, so clean, it's like, "Oh, this is great. This is amazing." Like, you don't have the overprime, you don't have the terrible trim down, you don't have the urethane everywhere. So, if you're out there listening, just try to make it so good that when I follow you that I wanna hire you, like Trey says, although I ain't hiring
Yeah.
anybody, but like Trey says,
Yeah.
like, make sure. Yeah.
Do you alright, so maybe I don't know if you share similar experiences with me on this, but I I mean, even now, I don't follow very good work unless we do it. And when I remember I was like 5 years into the industry or 6 years into the industry before I cut a windshield out, and I was like, "Whoa, this is nice work." I mean, it was astonishing to me that all of it looked so bad that when I seen work that looked good, I was, like, shocked. And did you experience that? Because you started in, like, where'd you start at? What state?
I started in Ohio. I've always been in
Okay.
Ohio, and 2003 is when I started. And I was probably one of those guys that everybody hated to follow. I don't think so because I always tried to really pride myself on what I did, but there's could have been. But honestly, once I settled down in Newark, now when I was in Columbus, Ohio, like, when I was at my Safelite days and I worked in Columbus, Ohio, holy shit, was those jobs fucking bad. All across the board bad, like, did not matter, like, when you finally got a good one, you're like, "Oh." But, like, once I settled down in, like, the Newark, Zanesville area, um, you knew when you pulled it, which technician in your area did it.
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh, yeah,
knew.
you could tell. There's
You could tell.
trademark.
There is
It's
trademark.
trademark stuff.
Yep. Yep. So, but I was very fortunate that there was only one really bad tech in the Newark. Oh, I'm sorry. There was two really bad ones and one that was in the Newark Zanesville area. And then the rest of them was like, okay, and if you got that Safe Light job where they said, hey, Safe Light did it, it was up in the air. One time it'd be good and you'd be like, oh, cool. And then one time you're like, oh my goodness, how's this person doing this job? But it just depended if they brought one back to you and said, "Oh, Safelite did it last time," then you kind of just had to wait and see. But being the role of a trainer that I've been in, um, and I traveled all over before my current position now with the Autoglass Direct, the amount of really, really bad jobs is astonishing. Like, it's so bad. It I remember I had a couple shows back when I was talking about Montana. I'd go in Montana and the speedy glasses in Montana, they actually did really good work, but nobody else there did. And every single car that came into that shop, if it'd been done before, it had silicone somewhere. Somewhere. It's like it's
So
like up there, they're just like, just put silicone on
I've
it. So yeah.
I've learned something, is
Yep.
Vietnam era guys, they like 3 things. It's like brute cologne, conversion vans, and silicone. And then, it's
Yes.
like and those Vietnam era guys will put RTV on freaking everything.
Everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
and the
like,
state of
man,
Montana is like that too. Like the whole speedy glass shop I went into when I was there, the cars that come in, it was like, "Hey, there's RTV or there's silicone on this one again." You're just like, "Oh my goodness. Okay, well,
yeah, thanks,
here's what
here we
we got
go.
to do." But yeah,
Yeah.
and the state of Washington, when I was there, really bad techs. Arizona has like I don't know the whole state of Arizona, but the part that I was in doing a little bit of training, all the cars that came in there that had been replaced before, it was really bad. Like, I spent a whole week there, and 0 of the cars that came in that had aftermarket windshield was done correctly. 0. I mean,
Man,
0.
you gotta come down here and spend some time with us.
Yeah, I
I mean,
have to. That'd be
we're in
great.
between Savannah and Charleston,
Mhm.
and the Savannah market is like it's a trash market. It's if you're in Savannah, I'm sorry, and if you're doing work, I'm sorry. But I started in the Savannah market, and it is just pickup trucks and freaking long knives and extractors and like cold knives and like nobody's wiring anything out. I'm sure there's some guys, but it everything is hacked up. Everything's got rust. And Charleston's not too much different. It's better because it's a
Mhm.
non-deductible state. But and and I've just seen so much of it in my career that, like, it makes me angry. It makes because like 1 to 2 a day, we're cleaning up rust. We're backtracking behind somebody, cleaning up rust. And that's kind of what we started doing. Well, I say that's we kinda started doing some of the content because I was so tired of seeing rust, and I wanted the customer to understand what good work and bad work was. And because not only is auto glass, like the auto glass industry, but the automotive industry as a whole, in my opinion, up until fairly recently, has done a terrible job at educating the consumer on what work should look like.
Yes.
So they just so the customer naturally, instinctively is just price shopping because
Mhm.
they don't know the difference between a $200 job and a $500 job. They just know how it feels when they write the check, you know? Uh, so that I mean, it's kinda where all this spurred from. Just
Yeah.
consumer education and then, you know,
Yeah, it just got
the
fun after
extractor
that.
video and
Yeah.
yeah, they just got fun. Then we started talking some trash and
Yeah.
because
Well,
we
with the
had trash
extract
talkers.
Yes, and with the extractor video and with the extractor and the cold knife, obviously it's still taught, and obviously they're great tools in the right hands. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
problem is those tools have been given to the wrong hands and not corrected. And what you're talking about with consumer education up home, we dealt with rust a lot. Obviously, you had to correct rust, you had to do what needed to be done, and I would say at least 6 or 7 vehicles a week came in that were rusted, and usually you only got maybe 2 that had to go to the body shop every month. You know what I mean? So it wasn't you would catch it because
That's
windshields are
still a
changed
lot, man.
I
It's like,
know, but there's a lot of windshields that get changed up here. Our roads are kinda like yours, except for we use salt in the winter and glass breaks obviously in the winter. You
yeah,
different so we definitely have that run of the weather. But the one thing that we started doing when I was at Richardson was the customers would come in and they were under the pretense, especially the '80s babies, early '90s babies, early 2000s babies, is that if you broke that factory seal, it always leaked.
oh, yeah, that's it. I
Every
don't wanna break
car
my
I
factory
don't
seal.
exactly. I don't want a windshield changed because especially when they came in wanting repairs, and the repairs were too big. And you were like, "Okay, listen, we recommend a replacement." And then it was like, "Well, I don't wanna break that because, every time you do that, it leaks." Every car I had before that I had windshield changed, it leaked. Everybody's brother that I knew who had their windshield changed, it leaked. It's like, well, we try to really make sure that we don't have that issue. We go above and beyond and we do that. And then you start educating them and they don't really understand it. And then it's like you don't know how many of the factory ones leak too, you're just
Yeah.
because
Well,
it's
and,
just a poor job.
I try to point out some of that too with the content is like, here's a bad factory job, you know? Bad factory jobs exist a lot more often than you would like to think. We see manufacturing plants screw a lot of stuff up. And, like Rover's a really good example of that. You Ford lovers, I'm sorry. Fords they have the worst success rate at at glass bond.
Mhm.
Ford has so many bond failure issues and leak issues. Like Ford's just all over. They leak, seam seals and it just everywhere.
That
But
back glass, they put a rivet through the seam
oh yeah.
sealer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They sure
In the
do.
back glass, and then they wanted you to pull it and put silicone around it and then put it back in, and the windshield leaked at those seams as well there, and they wanted
Yeah.
the
We
glass guy
still
to
get them in
pull
our
it.
market.
Yeah, they wanted the glass guy to pull it and then take silicone because it was clear, and silicone nose up and then put your windshield back in. I was like,
It was like,
"Silicone?
that's not gonna work.
That's not a fix. That's a
No.
Band-Aid to get them past their warranty."
When Fords, they're terrible about in the bottom corners on the F-Series trucks. They come down and they cut those corners, and you get a pinhole leak right there at the corner. Or there's a scene. I mean, we've had, I don't know at this point, 5 or 6 different F-150s that come in. And so you would expect the seam seals up top to leak, but then
Mhm.
the ones below the windshield leak on the firewall. And, I mean, we've seen that quite a bit.
So you have them come in and, you pop the ECM plug out, and if it's corroded on plug 3 pin 3 and pin 10, then you remember they'll be driving down the road and the doors start locking and unlocking, the windshield wipers go, and
No,
just
I never
so
seen any of
the
that.
the 1256 Ford windshields, that generation would run down, and when it leaked inside to the, driver's side, it went right in the footwell and then hit just the ECM right there. So if you
The
looked and those pins were
1551s
corroded.
are the same way.
Yeah, yes,
1551s, the set blocks go
yep.
right through the firewall. What a
Right
dumb
through.
design.
What a
So
dumb
terrible.
design, yeah. So it leaked down in
Ugh.
there, and then, yeah, every one of those was musty smelling, but, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so yes, the manufacturer, I remember we had GM come through, a huge recall on the GM Equinoxes because the passenger side quarter glass, they didn't put any glue in. They just stuck the windows in.
For real. They
And
just stuck them. It was set pins holding it?
yeah, just the set pins were holding it. So, we had a
Man, what year was
huge
that? When was that?
oh, man, that was right when I left, right before when I left Richardson, so I was 23, early 24, late
Oh, man,
23.
we didn't get any of those in our market because we do all
Yep,
the GM dealerships in our market. And,
yeah,
yeah, we didn't get any of those. So it
yeah,
y'all must have been the
yeah.
unlucky ones.
Yeah, it must have been the unlucky ones, yeah, so, yeah, yeah, it was crazy. It was like the lady called in, she's like, "Every time I shut my door, I hear a bloop, bloop," and we're like, "Okay, we'll bring it in," and then so, like, we shut the door, and James was like, yeah, he was like, "Do that again," so I shut the door, and it did it. He's like, I don't think there's any urethane in there." So we pulled it out, and sure enough, there wasn't any urethane in there. So we hurried up, took a bunch of pictures, sent it to the GM dealer, and then also sent it on up to GM Engineering. And then there was a recall, and I think we ended up doing like 150 of them or something like that. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
huge, huge, but it was enough, that we had. They just kept cycling them through the shop. We would have like 10
So
or 15 a week.
we have one of the larger Ford dealerships in the country right here in our area. And so when the F-Series recall come out, we did 42 of those things before they could ever leave the lot when that recall come out. We spent, like 4 days over there doing like 42 of them. And then the Rangers, the Broncos, they have the same issues. Then you had the Transit vans that had bond failure to glass on the inner
Mhm.
layer frit.
Yep.
And then you got the Bronco quarter glasses. We had a stretch where Lincoln MK, what's the SUV? MKZ?
MKZ, I think,
MKC?
yeah.
They had pinhole seam seal leaks on the top passenger side of the windshield. There, you could look at it and see a pinhole. And it just, so I mean, I've spent a ton of time at a Ford dealership
Yeah.
diagnosing water issues.
Yep.
So much time because the dealership always looks at it and they go, "Oh, it's the windshield."
It's the windshield.
So you come out and go, "Man, this ain't a windshield."
Shield.
So by the time you replace 2 or 3 windshields and it doesn't solve the issue and everybody starts looking at you funny, it's like, well, I guess we got to figure out how to find water leaks
Yeah.
because nobody else
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah, we had a guy around here that he used to go to all the dealerships to diagnose water leaks, and it was, I think it was called like Water Dog or something like that. But anyways, he immediately, every time he rolled in, if it had an aftermarket windshield, it was a windshield leaking. And then the Chevy dealer that was right up the run from us got so tired of that, that they started having us come in and test the windshield before they'd bring him in. And I was like,
Yeah,
"Why don't you let us just water
just do
test it,
everything.
Just do
So
everything." But, they didn't. They obviously must have had a contract with him or whatever. But, yeah, it's not just for consumer education. It is not just the aftermarket glass installers and technicians that cause issues. The factory causes a lot of issues as
oh yeah,
well. Yeah.
oh yeah.
So,
We do a Rover dealership too, and tons and tons of factory bond failures on Rovers.
yeah.
Like it might be worse than Ford. It's a bunch.
Yeah, I'm not ran into any of the Rovers, but, once I
It's all
once we were at
interlayer
a
frit stuff.
yeah. So, with that being said, why do they keep going with the interlayer frets? Like Ford does it, Rover does it, Pilkington has the interlayer fret. If that's the issue, and we know it's a bond issue with, even some of the primerless products, if it's got an interlayer fret, they're like, yeah, it'll work, but you might want to put some primer on it too as like a backup, whatever, if you're having issues with them. Um, what what's the deal? Like, what is the deal? Like,
I
why is that a problem?
So me and my urethane rep have been talking about this for a while because we started seeing this on the F series one DOT 177 Pilkington parts. Um, because those are the inner layer frit F series trucks. All of your factory stuff is external frit. So we were running XB30 and we were having primer failures across the top and down the sides, but not where the cowl covers it. And, so we do a ton of F series trucks, a ton of them. So I had about a year stretch where it was like, I mean, we were doing multiple warranty jobs a week. I've got a fleet accounts that have F-150s. We got the dealership. It's just warranty call after warranty call. We were doing so many of them, trying to track down what's going on. And we're submitting DOT numbers, but it always was a DOT 177 part.
Mhm.
And Pilkington, I'm not trying to call you out like I did in, one of our videos here a while back. I do have some issues with your manufacturing quality and where it's come to right now. Everybody's got manufacturing quality issues, but Pilkington DOT 177 parts right now, particularly, are really dropping the ball. But it was always DOT 177 interlayer frit parts. That's where we were having our issues. And it seemed to only happen on the F series trucks. And then I got to thinking about it. I was like, think about Volvos. Volvo interlayer frits, they always fail across the top. Side moldings cover the urethane bead down the side, but they fail across the top where they're exposed to sunlight. We see the
Oh.
same thing on the Rovers. The Rover interlayer frits, your Discoveries and your Range Rovers, Land Rover, Range Rovers, they fail across the top where exposed to sunlight. The only exception I've really seen with Ford is probably the Explorers. We don't see many bond failures on the Explorers, but then even on Ford's OEM Transit Connect vans, there were bond failures to glass on it. And it was a
Yes.
primer failure, interlayer frit. It was only where it was exposed to sunlight. So my understanding is the glass manufacturer is blaming, if I understand how this is working, in who's kicking the ball around. But to me, it seems like, and from what I understand, is the glass manufacturers kicking the ball over to the urethane manufacturers, but it's not just one manufacturer. It's or DuPont now. It's DuPont, it's Sika. Everybody's having the issue. And then the urethane manufacturers are trying to kick it back over to the windshield the auto glass manufacturer.
Mhm.
But I think what's going on, if you take a flashlight and shine it on a Ford car light part through the frit, look at the UV penetration, and then go over to an interlayer fart, interlayer part, and shine the light on it. And it's like, I mean, you might as well not have a fret there, it seems like to me. So, um, I'm pretty confident with how many issues we've seen in our market, whether we've done it or it's OEM installs. I think there's a big issue right now with UV contamination, or not contamination, but UV penetration on interlayer frit parts that are causing these failures.
Wonder why that is. Is it I mean, because you wouldn't think that putting it on the 3rd surface or 4th surface would make that much of a difference, as far as bleed through. Do you think because it is on 3rd surface that, there's an issue where they're not maybe using as much, silkscreen, or maybe that during the autoclave process, it's coming off, because it's getting too hot? Like, I guess, because, the autoclave process, put the frit on, and then they sandwich it, and then they put it in the autoclave, which sucks out all the but whether it's inner layer or outer layer, I believe the frit's on during that process no matter what. But I'm wondering if where it's in contact with the PVB during that, if that might be causing some issue. But this is just me just kinda
Hmm.
throwing darts at a wall,
I don't
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I just know it's consistent with interlayer parts, and
Agreed.
it's consistent where sunlight hits it.
Mhm.
So, but the parts I see that are the best are ones that have interlayer and external layer frets on.
Well, yeah, those are real
Like
good.
I've been seeing quite a bit of like DOT 459 and DOT 1038 show up that way.
Mhm.
We just recently set up a migrant account, and we haven't had migrant in our area. They still don't service our area, so I got a somewhere an hour away where we can get parts dropped off to, and then I can go pick them up, like a middle
Yeah.
ground. And I was super impressed with some of the Chinese manufacturing. I I think it's pretty. I think it's better than a lot of the companies that you would think of as domestic, whether the plant is domestic or not. But
Yeah.
some of the bigger names.
Yeah, some of the
Uh,
bigger ones.
so and I mean, I'm on your show. I'm trying not to throw any shade at anybody, but part of that too, part of the throwing shade at folks is like, I mean, we've all had sales reps you call and you make complaints to about products, regardless of what the product is. And then, sales reps, they're just like, and they don't chase it down. And I feel like we're kind of at a point in the industry right now where manufacturing quality is going down and they aren't listening to us. So it's like, be noisy.
Yeah. Oh, well, with that, I mean, they're sales people. Their livelihood depends on how much you buy.
Mhm.
And I do know that some of the importers of glass, they have direct lines to the actual glass manufacturers, but not all of them do. I'll never forget, I had one, salesperson, and this has been years ago, okay? So I'm not really, I don't wanna throw any shade, but it's a very popular distributor. Um, and he come down because we were having 1504, Econoline vans and the 1505 F-150 and F-350 trucks, and they've set this much too short as the factory, so the setting blocks from the factory wouldn't fit. They were like the glass was like this much too short. It was not even close to hitting a setting block when it was positioned where it needed to be in the hole. It was just the glass was too short. And I brought the salesperson in, and I'm like showing him, and he was like, "Just put a rubber setting block there." I said, "Okay, but why should I have to fix your part? I'm your customer. Why
Mhm.
should I have to fix your part? Seriously, why should I have to fix your part?" And he was like, "Well, just stop complaining about it." And I was like, "No, why should I have to fix your part that your name's on it, and you're telling me that just put a rubber setting block there. It's not designed for a rubber setting block there. It could act different, could cause a noise, could cause a bunch of. We know that that's not the case. We've been in the industry long enough to we know you put a rubber setting block there, it's not going to make a difference. But I shouldn't have to fix your part. I'm the customer. I shouldn't have to
Yeah.
adjust to fix your part. Just like when we brought them back down here, because you remember the Ford Escapes that had the big bubble in the center to where
Oh,
the
yeah.
sides would touch and
Oh,
the
yeah.
center wouldn't, and it would leak. Put a sandbag on it until the urethane cures. What the fuck? No,
Like, what do
I'm not
you
doing.
so
Yeah, no, no.
God.
Which we did have. Me and James did have two distributors that sent salespeople down because we sent so many scratch parts back and stuff. Because we were too picky. They told us we should just be
Mhm.
installing them. So
We send a lot of scratch stuff back too.
yeah, so they sent them down to tell us basically to stop sending back stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, no, 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 send us." But that's when, and honestly, that changed for us right then because we started taking care of our delivery drivers. We really truly started taking care of our delivery drivers, our warehouse managers, and the actual not the salesperson to come and talk to us, but the warehouse manager, the the person that took our orders. We would go and take them donuts once a month. We treated our delivery drivers. We always had Monster for them if that's what they like. Red Bull. We always had something in the evening sitting there for them. We gave them gift cards throughout the year for different things. Hey, have lunch on us. None of our parts were scratched this week. Do that. Like so. We really truly developed a bond with our delivery people, and that right
Mhm.
there turned around the amount of parts we had to send back, and because they
Oh,
were
yeah, they catch
looking
them for
out.
you.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
they're
would
looking
catch them
out.
for.
Yep.
Yes, and then it also stopped us from getting dusty parts. You know how you'll get the
Oh, yeah.
part delivered, they're
Yeah.
supposed to wash it, and it's got, like, a bunch of dust where you could write, "Clean me"
Oh,
on
yeah.
it or whatever.
And then you get it cleaned off, and then you find all the damage.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So James and I started really taking care of the people that brought us our parts and stuff, and it made a huge difference. Like our managers that we dealt with at the distributors loved us. And when we had to return a part, they were apologizing. Like instead of being like a little bit
Yeah.
dicks about it, like they were
I think
before, they were
we
apologizing.
yeah. I think we
Yeah,
have that relationship with our local distributors too. And,
yeah, it
we
makes a
we did
difference.
have a bad driver that got hired at one of our distributors, and he wasn't there for a long time. It was just a pretty short period, but he wouldn't clean anything before he left the warehouse. I mean, he was bringing filthy parts and I was I'm always trying to teach the drivers too. So if we get a day run, and I'm bringing it in, if they've got questions, most of the time they're just carrying glass. They don't know the first thing about any of
Nope.
it. So,
And they're making
I'm
nine,
like,
10 bucks
this
an
is
hour, 11 bucks an hour,
well,
12
yeah.
bucks an hour. They're not making very much.
So I'm like teaching them as I'm going. It's like, this is what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm looking for in brackets and moldings and just educating them and, buy them lunch, give them a
Yep.
20, buy them lunch, once
Yep.
in a while. And it ain't a lot. You're not like
Nope.
schmoozing them up or nothing, but
No.
just, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for putting in the effort. But this one guy, he just didn't care about his job. And he would show up with the dirtiest, filthiest parts. And he come in one day and I said, "This part is filthy, man." And I said, "If you show up again with a part this dirty, I'm gonna make you take it back and clean it and bring it back to me." And he was gone pretty shortly after that. I think,
Yeah.
it was kinda but it had gotten so bad. I was like almost I was at my wit's end with it. It was like but we were getting so much damaged stuff, and you would never be able to tell it was damaged because it was just so dirty.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Take care of your delivery people. It really does make a difference because the all day long they're getting bitched at by their
Yeah.
managers to get things done. They're getting bitched at by everybody they deliver to. They're getting, so just make their life a little bit easier. Uh, like I said, just something as simple as a drink. But yeah, you're right. Every now and then we kick them lunch, we kick them, gift card, whatever. But we did make sure we took care of our delivery drivers, and that made a lot of them stick around longer than they probably should have for a job like that. But and every single one of them that did leave, they came and told us, "Hey, I don't know who's gonna take my position, but I wanted to let you guys know I am leaving in 2 weeks, and I just wanna get you prepared for it." And we're like, "Okay, well, if you're training somebody, if they're sending somebody out with you to train, bring them by here. We wanna meet them, because a lot of times they'd come at night, but Migrant and IGC came during the day, so it's like, we wanna meet them. let us meet them, or if it is a night delivery driver, we would wait there at night, kind of thing to get them to make sure that we met them at least because it was pretty important to us to make sure we got good parts, man. It really was because it made our
Oh,
job
yeah.
so much easier,
Well,
you know.
it can be rough if you're getting bad parts all the time, and especially, like, like, this year is a really weird year for a lot of shops, and it's weird
Mhm.
for us too, in a sense of we're meeting all our growth goals, but we're not booked out like I'm used to being booked out. So now and I'm in a portion of the country where there is no local warehouses. Everything has to be delivered to us. It's an hour at least in any direction that you go before you find a warehouse. And so if you're scheduling for the next day and you got parts that are showing up damaged, you want to talk about causing chaos for the day. And you could ruin a mood. You get all it takes is, and it isn't too unrealistic to have 50% of your parts show up with something wrong.
Yeah, yeah, that's not
It's
uncommon,
not
but yeah,
uncommon.
no.
So when you got half a day, you know, one tech's worth of work that shows up damaged for the day, and it will just, boy, it can suck the morale out of a shop real
Yeah,
fast.
absolutely. 100% can just
Oh, man.
yeah. It's like, "Oh, man, now we gotta redo all these. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now I gotta call and schedule these customers." And we was an hour away from the closest warehouse. So to run up and will call something, it threw the rest of the day off. It really did. Like,
Yeah.
if you had what I mean, it really truly did. If you had to, drop what you're doing and go will call apart. So that really, really, truly made you really check your parts before you pulled something out
Mm,
because
yeah.
that's an unhappy customer or you're an unhappy person when the customer is like, "Hey, you got to get it done. The windshield's out." And then you had to drive all the way to Grove City, turn around, drive all the way to back to wherever you were, put the glass in, and then you still had jobs left to go through that day. So,
And that's
really did it.
25% of your day.
Yeah.
When you're an hour away from a warehouse, by the time you go get the part and come back, that's 25% of your day. That's a big deal, man.
Yeah, it's a big deal to a technician. Now, I know it's a deal like I don't know as much about the ownership and the busy stuff and all the loss of revenue from things like that and the cost. So that for me as a technician, I know it just made my day really bad. I knew it was like, oh man, I really don't want to have to go. He's like I still got 3 or 4 left to do, and
Yeah.
it's already getting a little bit late in the afternoon, and so but yeah, you definitely had to make things happen. But yeah, so take care of that. Get your delivery drivers all squared away so they're bringing you good parts. So what do you got? You're going to Auto Glass Week?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So me and Sarah are going this year. Last year we took the whole team and you want to talk about lost revenue. Like,
Yeah,
you
not
were
a
talking
lot of
about you don't know how
shops.
it affects.
Yeah.
Boy, that was an expensive week. That was an expensive week. And we didn't feel it till the next month when everything started hitting. And but I would, as much as I would love to take the whole team every year, um, it's it's not cost free. It is when you factor shutting, depending on how big of a shop you run, you shut it down for a whole week. That's a
Hmm.
lot of lost revenue for the month. And then, if it follows by folks getting sick because they traveled and somebody wants to take vacation time, all of a sudden things get complicated real fast and money starts running short, or it feels tight or you're in the red. But yeah, so Sarah and I are going this year. We're going to fly up and we're staying at River Center. I think that's what it is. River Center at Riverwalk. I
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not even
I
sure
shot
where
a
I'm
text
staying yet.
message. Yeah, I shot a text
Yeah.
message in one of the groups and figured out that's where all the cool kids were staying at. So I
Gotcha,
said, "Well,
gotcha.
let me tag along," you know.
Yep, yep.
But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't have it's crazy. I look forward to Auto Glass Week every year. So, and I've been going since Virginia Beach.
Yep.
Uh,
I've been going since Indianapolis, so 2019. I look forward to it every single year. This year, and I have everything already configured and booked, but this year I don't have anything set in stone yet, so I don't know where I'm staying. Anything, so I can't be like, hey, I'm staying here. Like I don't know where I'm staying yet or anything. So get all that figured out. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good year. I think it's going to be fun. But not too many shops can shut down and bring the entire team. The ones that do, good on you, but not
yeah,
too
man,
many
it's
shops can
tough.
afford that swing, man. They really can't. So Yeah, it's very
God,
tough. Yeah.
especially if you got a bigger team or something, man. It
Yeah.
it doesn't take long for that trip to cost you $30,000, and it adds up real fast.
Yes, it
And we
does.
did have
Yes, it does.
fun, and it was a good team building exercise. It really
Mhm.
was. But, it also sucks, like, we got one of the guys we brought with us, he's not in the industry anymore, and it sucks when you put, a bunch of effort and money into somebody and, and then, it doesn't work out or they leave or they do something else. It's like, God dang, I just took this guy up there with us or took whoever up there with us to get all these certifications while we were here, and then they turn around and left, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
So this year, it's just going to Sarah and I. We just want to come out and we want to be able to do us and not have to worry about people tagging along. And then I think what we'll do in the future is we'll start picking one a year, or maybe somebody from the shop, somebody from the office, so we can keep operations running while we're traveling out and still get some of the boot camps in,
Mhm.
and then let folks meet others. Some of the employees and team members meet other folks in the industry, because that's the
Mhm.
best part about Auto Glass Week
Yep.
is it is the relationships you build. And I mean, part of that is like you and I, Bradley. You and Bradley are buddies. Me and all of us at some point or another we met at Auto Glass Week, and
At
that's where
Autoglass
all
Week.
these relationships were forged.
Yep.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, a lot of my, almost all of my industry friends outside of Ohio have come from Autoglass Week, all of 'em.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
I'm very grateful because, they become really, really close friends. So, with with that being said, though, I mean, we're getting close to 50 minutes, so we're gonna wrap it up here. It's
All
been
right.
quick, man. It's went quick. It's went quick. So,
Hey man, we can go
anything,
longer.
yeah, anything on the horizon for you that's coming up that you're excited about, though?
uh God, I turned 35 this, what is it, Saturday?
Motherfucker, I'm 12 years older than you. God damn.
So my wife's 5 years older than me. So if
Oh,
y'all
shit.
see Sarah at Auto Glass, she's gonna hate me for saying this. Oh man, if y'all see Sarah at Auto Glass Week, tell her, "Hey man, Trey said you're old." Um, oh my God, I probably just stuck my foot in my mouth.
Dude,
But
you fucked
yeah.
up, bro.
So 4th of July, I turned 35 years old. I had to calculate it the other day. I was like, how old am I gonna be? Am I turning
Oh,
34,
e
35?
every single year, like, honestly, past 30, I kept pretty good track 30, but then after that, it was like, "Okay, how old am I turning this year? Okay." Like,
Yeah.
really, truly, it was like, like, I thought I was turning 49 I'm sorry, I thought I was turning 40 the year I turned 39. I was like, "Oh, shit, I miscalculated my birthday. I was born a year
Yeah.
earlier than what I thought," kinda thing, so, oh, man, it's crazy it's, crazy to think that, my life's half over. It really
Oh yeah.
is. I'm
Man, you
47
gotta
years
get
going
you
to
some
48.
adrenochrome, bro.
I'm
Gotta get
telling
you some
you, like,
adrenochrome.
yeah, but fucking hell, man. It's like, dude, I'm 40, gonna be 48 in November. So, yeah, it's like, wow, okay, well, it is what it is, bro. You just got to keep moving on, and I know my hustle hard isn't as hustle hard as it was in the past. I will say that
Me and
my
me and
hustle hard.
somebody else, we have a mutual friend that you and I do, and we were talking about it the other day. And I think Mike said this on the podcast one time. Um, the TRT. God. So I had, this is gonna sound weird to say on an auto glass podcast, but I had a testicle injury. And to my I continued to have testosterone levels that tanked, and it was years before I ever knew anything that was wrong. And I'd lost all my drive. I was grumpy. I was mean, and God, so tired before I finally had my testosterone checked. I put it all together, and it is, man, if your fella is getting a little older and your testosterone levels are dropping off, it will change your life. It is crazy how much better you will feel in
I'm
life.
actually on the fence right there because, my natural is okay. And I know I'm getting older, but I'm on the fence, right? Do I jump on it or not? Because I know a lot of the guys my age, it shuts their natural production off. So they have
Oh,
to
it
actually
does.
continue to take it. Like, long term continue to take it
Mhm.
to even stay any kind of, so I'm like kind of on the fence whether I should or shouldn't. I'm following Andrew Huberman's protocol for naturally
Andrew
boosting to
Huberman's
try to help.
great, man.
I love him. I
Yeah.
protocols come out in September. I'm looking forward to that book. I've already pre-ordered it. I listen to his show every week. But like for me, I'm like doing the natural things that he's recommending because it's like
Yeah.
I do notice my energy levels tanked and my hustle hard is just not there. And I'm like I'm not grumpy, but I'm not like in the hey, like I do that every now and then. But like for the most part, I'm kind of starting to even kill a little bit. So it's like I got a doctor's appointment in July. So in July, I'll be retested again because I get tested every July. So we'll see where I'm at if I've really went or
Yeah.
what, but we'll see. And if it is, and I have to start down that path, I'm going to start down it. I'm not above it, dude, at all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely
So, I
not
mean,
above
for
doing it.
everybody in the industry out there, it's like, so I know a bunch of guys here locally that I'm friends with, and I've influenced them in one way. It's like I influenced one, and that guy influenced another guy, and then so now I know 20 or 25 different guys who have gotten on it, and something clearly happened environmentally with guys my age versus guys your age. There's a distinct generation separation there where guys my age are significantly more affected by something environmentally that's causing us to have low testosterone levels. My situation was a bit different, and it took years for me to put it together and kind of figure it out. 'Cause my brain was telling everything to produce more, but I wasn't producing more. And then I thought back, and I was like, "Oh, I know what happened." know? Uh,
Microplastics, bro. There's that 12 years between us. We grew up on glass bottles,
oh, that's true, man.
We grew up on aluminum cans. For us, the plastic bottles didn't really truly hit until the late 90s, early 2000s. So
Well,
for
see, and that's
us,
when I was in my most fundamental stage. I was born
yes,
in '91.
yeah.
So,
So I mean, and I'm not trying to play the hippie here, but I'm telling you, I think plastics and
oh, yeah.
microplastics has a
Deborah Soh
huge
does a
to do
lot of
with it.
stuff on that, right?
What's that?
Dr. Deborah doesn't Dr.
Yeah.
Deborah Soh do a lot on the
Y-
microplastics? I've
Yep.
watched a lot of her stuff too.
Yeah.
No,
Dr.
there's a
Rhonda.
lot of environment. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Rhonda
Ron
Patrick as well.
that's right.
Rhonda
That's
Patrick. Yep.
right.
Yeah. And I truly think that, and there's a gap between the generation before me and us. They seem to keep their masculinity a lot longer than we did, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. You see guys in their 50s, like, take a picture in the 70s or
Yep.
the 80s with their shirt off,
Yep.
and they were in their 50s. It's like, these dudes were jacked, like, naturally just
Yeah.
studs.
Yeah,
Like,
I
what in
mean,
the hell
they
happened?
might not carried a lot of, like, muscular tone, but they were
Yeah.
toned, like, they might not carried a lot of muscle, but it was toned up, and like, you're right, it's like, what happened? And I do think, like I said, we grew up aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and I'm talking aluminum cans, not the one with the plastic bag in it that they have now. The aluminum cans
Yeah.
have a
Well, yeah, they
plastic
got the
bag
plastic
inside of it.
inside of them.
Yeah, we
You
didn't
gotta
have
dissolve
that.
it down.
We just had aluminum cans, and I do think like it probably was 96, 97 when I really started drinking out of a plastic bottle on pretty much everything. And I never drank water out of a bottle until probably when my kids were younger and we started going to all the sports, and that's when you started buying all the plastic bottles. But prior to that, it
Mhm.
was a glass of water, man, out of the sink. Or, when I was real heavy in my lifting days, you did carry the gallon jug of water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah,
did carry that. So, but
yeah.
yeah, and leaving your plastic in hot cars, I think that has a lot to do with it, but I could be wrong. Who knows? Could
It's
be
well, there's a bunch of
bunch of
different
other stuff.
factors,
A
that's for
bunch of different
sure.
factors. Bunch of different factors. So make sure you're taking
Yeah.
care of yourself. Get yourself checked up by your doctor to make sure you're ready to go. Because we got to do this for a long time. We really
Yeah,
do.
man.
We have to do this for a
Yeah.
long time. It's not getting any easier. Well, yeah, it is kind of getting easier, but we have to do it for a long time. But
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out real quick. So I'm sure you guys see this behind me. That is my seat cover that Kerbo Covers made me with my face on it. Um, I have to give a shout out because I was like, I gotta hang that thing up. I'm not actually using it. I still got my Wu-Tang seat covers for that, but like that's my seat cover that just showed up randomly in the mail. So I gotta give a shout out to them because it was just out of nowhere. It just showed up on my
Yeah.
door. I was like, oh,
So,
okay, cool.
sidebar, I was
Yes.
talking to Mac when he was making those because I got with him about making us some stuff,
Yep.
and he said, I'm getting their faces put on the seat covers." And I was like, "Man, I AI generated a picture of Brad, um, like, dressed up as a monkey." you
Yeah.
know, because he's a glass monkey, and he
Yeah,
was in
exactly.
hula gear in a
Yeah.
Hawaii
Yeah.
dressed up in a monkey suit. And I sent it
Yeah.
over. I was like, dude, you got to put this on the cover. And I don't think it ever happened. I don't know.
No.
I hadn't heard about it yet.
No,
But
no, yeah, that didn't happen. He does have Bradley's face, and then his Bradley's got a banana, like a banana tape to his kind of thing. So
oh
yeah,
yeah.
so but yeah, I just mine showed up last week or the week before. Didn't anyways. So I did do a short video on it, but wanted to give them a shout out for that because getting free shit's kind of fun. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like it just shows up on the door and it's like, hey, I got free shit. All right, this is awesome. You know, so like I
That's how I
randomly
know.
go ahead.
That's how I know more people know you than me, because I haven't got to the free shit part yet.
Yeah, I had Sika. Sika had a couple T-shirts show up from Sika, but I did reach out to Mike and thank him. And I got a pink hoodie from Sika. DuPont sent me this real nice button down, and then they sent me a couple T-shirts. So yeah, I've gotten some free stuff in the mail. So everybody who sent me some free stuff, thank you so much. It means a lot. Also, I got to say, I am going to Australia at the end of September for their Autoglass show, their Autoglass week. So pay when that comes up, and you'll see a bunch of drops on that one because I'm going to be filming and making sure I do some shows and everything. So that's coming up. But man, Trey, it's been an hour, and please let's do this again, man. This has been fun.
Yeah, man. I
All
enjoy it,
right,
dude. I
yeah.
enjoy it.
Hang on one second, and we are out.